Hey everyone, CJ here. Let's talk about Ravnica. Wizards of the Coast have recently announced that Ravnica, one of Magic the Gathering's most popular planes, will be joining Dungeons & Dragons to become one of its many official settings. The Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica is going to be released in a few months. So what can we expect out of this supplement? In this video, I'm going to make some educated prediction based on the lore of Ravnica and my own designer's instinct, for whatever it's worth. But before I lay out my predictions, let me briefly introduce the world of Ravnica to those of you who are not familiar with it. Ravnica is a plane of existence that is part of Magic the Gathering's multiverse. It is named after a planet-wide city where all the major events take place, Ravnica. This city is ruled by 10 guilds that also fulfill many of the essential functions of the city. Each of them is represented by a combination of 2 of Magic the Gathering's 5-color mana sources. Each color also represents different ideologies that are closely tied to the functions of the cards. White represents protection and order, blue, intellect and deceit, red, fury and chaos, green, life and nature, black, death and decay. So even without having to learn much about each guild, you can make a somewhat accurate assumption on what the guild's central ideology is. The Boros Legion, for example, is represented by red and white. It was originally founded 10,000 years ago by Razia, an archangel with flaming sword. This guild serves as the city's army and police. 10,000 years. That sounds like a long time ago, but the Boros isn't that old compared to the others, because these 10 guilds were actually created at the same time, when the founders, Taruns as they are called in the lore, signed the magical guild pact to hold the city together. Whoever violated the law can be restrained magically, and even the Taruns themselves aren't exempt from the pact's law. It is a powerful restrictive force that upholds a facade of order over the city. Meanwhile, in the shadows, certain factions plan to destroy the pact, and all 10 of the guilds are suspects, because none of them are actually good guys. The Boros Legion is a militant organization that zealously enforces the law created by the Azorius Senate. The Senate itself is inflexible, bureaucratic, and inflict blind justice upon the denizen of Ravnica. They are represented by the color white and blue. The Orzhov Syndicate, White and Black, is a corrupt religious group that provides banking services to its citizens. But not even death can release the debtors from their loans. Literally. They will enslave their debtors using necromancy to make sure they got their money back, even in death. The SELESNYA Conclave, White and Green, is led by an elemental formed by a group of dryads that had fused together. They are a nature cult that promotes selflessness, nurture, and good old brainwashing. Out of the IZZET League, Red and Blue, comes the scientists and engineers who create new technologies for Ravnica. They may seem benign until they level another city block with their magical experiments. The GRUUL clans, Red and Green, used to be the forest keepers, keeping the other guilds and civilization in check. But since the whole planet has literally become a city, they have lost their purpose and are getting pushed out of civic life. So they lash out against civilization. The cult of RAKDOS, Red and Black, is a demon-worshipping guild. Its members are hedonists who carved out a place in society as entertainers, menial laborers, and even assassins. The GOLGARI Swarm, Green and Black, manages agriculture, wastes, and the dead. They believe that life and death are natural elements of an unending cycle, and to keep that wheel of life and death greased, they sometimes let a plague loose. The SIMIC Combine, Green and Blue, are the doctors of Ravnica, who also happen to create biological abominations on the side. Well, why just preserve life if you can improve it? House Dimir, Black and Blue, is a secretive guild. None of the regular citizenry is supposed to know that they exist. Their members consist of bandits and spies, and their Parun was a psychic vampire.
We're fighting a pedophile conspiracy, but beyond that, it's a vampire conspiracy in that they are interdimensionally sucking the essence of our youth.
No, not that kind. It's this one, Sadek. He is an important villain who schemed to dissolve the guild pact, and he succeeded doing so in the storyline of the first Ravnica block in 2005. He was eventually defeated, but trust between the guilds are at an all-time low when they try to duct tape everything together with a non-magically binding guild pack. Magic the Gathering used to release their card sets in blocks. A block is a term they use to group together a series of expansion card sets with similar theme and mechanic. A new realm is usually introduced in every block, but they sometimes revisit previous realms. Ravnica was first introduced in 2005 and they returned to it in 2012. This time, they have succeeded in re-establishing the magic of the guild pack, but with a twist. Through a series of events, Planeswalker Jace Beleren, one of the most regularly featured Planeswalker in Magic the Gathering storyline, becomes the living guild pack. It means that whatever he says becomes law in Ravnica. We don't currently know at which point of the timeline the D&D Ravnica setting will be placed in, but I have a feeling that it will be after Jace had become the living guild pack and leaving Ravnica for one of his adventures with his Gatewatch buddies. It would certainly tie in with the next expansion when they return to Ravnica for the third time, this time to defend the plane against one of the most dangerous Magic the Gathering villain of all time, Nicol Bolas. In terms of NPCs, I am not optimistic enough to think that Jace or Nicol Bolas will be featured. I am not saying that the Magic team is stingy about lending out their character, since they have let the Guildmaster localization team use Jace and Nicol Bolas for their game, but it would certainly cause narrative dissonance. Then again, they might have left some of their magical artifacts behind. Guilds are a very important part of Ravnica, but people are not born to it, so I think the guilds will most likely be presented as a new background options, but with stronger special features compared to the ones in the player's handbook. Those features should also reflect the special guild mechanics in Magic the Gathering, just like how some of the Boros Legion cards have the guild-specific abilities like Radiance and Battalion. Getting it at first level may mean that the feature is going to be watered down, so wizards may turn them into optional feats and let members of certain guilds choose to take it. The reason I don't think that they will use the Dragon Mark model and let you replace the racial trait with guild trait is because they will most likely add new races to the setting. Not long ago, Wizards have released Unearthed Arcana material for the Centaurs and Minotaurs. In Ravnica, they are normal members of the citizenry, so it makes sense that they would be included in this setting. For other new races, we may get options that are tied to popular creature types in Magic. Angels are iconic white creatures, so we might get them. Merfolks are iconic blue types. Because goblins are such iconic red card creatures, we may see the options in Volo's Guide reprinted here. If we are lucky, we are going to get a variant. Centaurs are a common green creature type. We may not get anything related to black cards because most of their creature types are zombies and spirits, but we may get an afterlife game mechanic because spirits are a common part of Ravnica. Some very important battles were fought in the spirit world, and the Orzhov Syndicate is even led by a council of ghosts. As for class options, I don't think that they will release the Mystic in this one. We haven't done the second round of playtest, and even the Artificer is not ready yet. But we may see new subclasses. They might create new subclasses for each guild, with guild membership being a prerequisite. I also think that there is a possibility that we will get Nicol Bolas as a new Warlock patron. He commonly sends out his minion across many planes to do his dirty work, so it would make perfect sense. And if you think that's cool, how about this one? Planeswalker Sorcerer. In Magic the Gathering lore, Planeswalkers are essentially sorcerers, because Planeswalking is not an ability that can be learned. It is awakened when that rare sentient being with a Planeswalker spark within them faces enormous stress. And once they have transformed into Planeswalker, they are able to draw mana from other planes. So this description just fits D&D's sorcerer to the T. Drawing mana from other planes can be the source of their meta magic. I don't know how they are going to approach the overall design, so I'm going to leave it to them and move on. The thing about planeswalking in Magic's lore though is that it is supposed to be special. Only planeswalkers and some rare creatures can do that. And perhaps some people who uses certain powerful magical devices. It would be pretty weird if some random D&D wizard just rock up, cast level 7 planeshift spell and move to another plane. So I think we may get some restriction on how certain spells work due to the setting's lore. At the same time, I think there is going to be a new batch of spells. What I am pretty sure of is that we are most likely going to get a small batch of new monsters and NPCs, just like the unofficial Planeshift setting released by the Magic the Gathering team. Ravnica is just too different compared to other D&D settings. Some monsters can be easily reskinned, but there are many unique creatures that need to have their own stat block. Okay, there you go. Those are my predictions for Ravnica. What do you think? Is it realistic? Do you have anything on your wish list? Comment below and let's start a conversation. CJ, over and out.